And if other folks pop in, they will just join the fun. So thank you all. Welcome for coming. My name is Dustin Angel. I'm the Director of Education at Archbold Biological Station. And this is Where in the World? This is a field trip, a mystery field trip across the USA. And what we're doing here is we've gathered representatives from 6 different field stations across the US, and we want to promote this unique collaboration we've been working on for the last year or so called the virtual field. The virtual field, there's actually several talks on it during this week. It's this collaboration that involves both live virtual events that are multi-site, as well as ecosystem exploration videos. That's what we're going to look at today. These are short videos that you can use with your students to visit different habitats from across the US. You're going to have a little taste of that, so this should be fun. The way that the format will work here is we will play a minute and a half of footage of a habitat. These are almost all of these are shot on cell phones, and there'll be some poll questions that'll pop up. You have a chance to try to figure out where was this photographed and or where was this filmed, and answer a couple of other questions about it. Then you will meet the representative of that site. And we have 6 different videos and 6 different representatives. And then we have 25 minutes for Q&A time at the end. So please put your questions in the chat, put your questions in the Q&A. Before we roll the first video, Hillary, do you want to just put your camera on? Just want to point out, this is Dr. Hillary Swain, the director at Archbold. She will be the main moderator, helping us out during this whole thing. So I wanted you to just see her. And let's jump in to our first video. I'm going to turn my my screen off. All right, Hillary, do you want to come on and introduce our first person?
Well, I'm giving everyone a chance to fill in the poll. It just came up for me. So take a few minutes, a few seconds, fill in the poll, scroll down to get the bottom one, and then I'll introduce you to our host from the site. Laura, let us know when we're getting close to getting good numbers.
right, a few more seconds, everyone. We have about 66% participating so far.
Thank you, Erin. Okay, well, it looks like most people will have filled in the poll, and I'd like to welcome, and this is going to be Angie Patterson, who's going to join us. She's going to tell us where she's from, comment on the answers to the polls, and then maybe give us a little bit more about this site. Go for it, Angie.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming and watching this fun video that I filmed last, well, I'll reveal the first answer. Last spring, April 20th, 2020. I am the Master Science Educator at Black Rock Forest, and we are located in the Hudson Highlands region of New York State. So I saw on the poll questions, there were a lot of people thinking this was Pennsylvania, but we're actually located in New York, only an hour and a half away from Pennsylvania. So yes, the formative ecosystem process that you see here is glaciation. So this forest and this region in general was formed through glacial retreat after the glaciers retreated 11,000 years ago. You can see evidence of that when you look at the rock formation. You see these large boulders kind of jutting out of the landscape. That's that granite gneiss bedrock that's exposed there. You see the first flowering tree was a shad bush, and it's flowers really early, actually, in the spring, to kind of help, I guess, as a competitive strategy to help reproduce itself. You can see here the soil layers. There's you have the organic layer, clay at the bottom, but it's pretty shallow because we're on top of a mountain. And you also saw evidence of clonal reproduction of white oak, which is a pretty dominant tree in this region.
So Angie, I'm going to wrap it up there, but Angie will be back later on to answer other questions. And I'd like to queue up the next video. And we're off in the world to somewhere else. Use your powers of observation and definitely keep going in the word cloud. You're doing a great job in the chat. Where are you? What's happening?
All right, I'll give you guys a few more seconds.
Okay, I'll let Laura pull up the poll, and I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Beth Norman, who'll let us know where she's from and answer some of the questions. Off you go, Beth.
Hi, everyone. My name is Beth Norman. I am the Director of Science and Research at Lackawanna Sanctuary Biological Field Station. So to address this first question here, Lackawanna Sanctuary is located in the northeastern part of Pennsylvania. So the majority of you got that right. We are in the Pocono Mountain region. So what you see as far as a formative ecosystem process for the entire region, the portion of the video that's playing now, Lackawanna is along the southern edge of the last glaciation. So a lot of the mountains that you see and the landscape that you see were formed by, the landscape is formed by glaciers. But the pond you see here, the woodland pond, was actually not a glacial pond. It is man-made. My understanding was that it was formed mostly by dynamite around in the early 1980s. And for those of you who are sharp-eyed, you can see the beaver lodge in the background. So the beavers are helping to sort of maintain this habitat at this point. I filmed this in early summer, late spring. In June, you can see the fledgling ospreys, as well as some of the aquatic plants that are blooming along the edges of the pond there. And I think that's all I have for you.
Thank you very much, Beth. And Laura, could you queue up the next video, please? So,
All right, yep, a couple more seconds.
Yeah, you're all taking longer on the polls than we'd budgeted, so they're not very hard. Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, who's joining you from this side. This is Andrea Couts. Go ahead, Andrea. Andrea, unmute yourself.
Sorry about
Thank
that.
you. No, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Welcome from Powder Mill Nature Reserve. We are the biological research station for Carnegie Museum of Natural History, which is in Pittsburgh. So Pennsylvania, another Pennsylvania site here. While the museum is located in Pittsburgh, the field station is located about an hour southeast in the Laurel Highlands region of Appalachia. And what you're seeing here, obviously water flow is one of the formative processes, and then also erosion, which has created this channel in the landscape. This was filmed in April of this year. So this is springtime. You can see there's no leaves on the deciduous trees. There's a couple rhododendrons in the footage there that still have their leaves. And this is when the water is not at the highest level. We get more of our rain this time of year, and there's also snow melt coming up down from the ridges. So we get a nice dynamic, high energy stream this time of year. This stream in particular is Powder Mill Run. It's an exceptional value stream and supports breeding populations of our native brook trout. So it's very healthy. You can see the water's very clear, and it's a really nice undisturbed site. So yeah, thank you.
So thanks for that introduction. And we're off again on another magical mystery tour, which you're going to have to comment on. So this is our next video. Thank you, Laura. And I'd like to introduce our next speaker. This is Suzanne DeCourcy. Suzanne, over to you. Tell us where we've been.
All right. Well, wonderful to see you all here. I'm Suzanne DeCourcy. I am the education manager for SSU's Center for Environmental Inquiry. And we just walked through the Fairfield Osborne Preserve, which is one of 3 preserves that SSU administers. And I'm very impressed with people's ability to figure out where in the world they were during this walk through the oak woodland, because we were indeed in California. The Fairfield Osborne Preserve is in Sonoma County in the North Bay. And indeed, folks saw, oh boy, this is really interesting and cool. So it looks like there's a three-way tie for formative ecosystem processes. And the wonderful thing is you are all correct. There's a lot of stuff going on here. There's a lot of erosion that has helped form this landscape. The soil and the rock make it a very, very kind of crumbly and movable landscape. In fact, there's a trail at this preserve called the Moving Mountain Trail, so that should give you some idea. Fire is also an extraordinary ecosystem process in this area, or rather has historically been. We haven't had a fire at the Osborne Preserve in a while. And of course, that fire was really brought to the place that's now the Osborne Preserve by humans. A lot of Native American land management took place in this area. And in fact, that's why we have these wonderful oak woodlands. And I'm also very impressed that folks figured out that this took place in the summer, because of course summer, which is often lush and green in other parts of the country, is dry. It's our dry season here in the Mediterranean climate of California. And it looks like I'm coming up to the end of my time, but I look forward to lots of other questions at the end of this tour.
So Laura, if you can queue up the next video, please. Okay, you've got your votes, and I'd like to introduce Dustin Angel to talk about this video and the processes involved. Go ahead, Dustin.
That was really fun. Two people guessed Florida scrub jay in their one-word comments, so you kind of gave it away. Yes, pretty good. We had California and Oregon in there too. A lot of folks were writing coastal. We are in Florida, but we are not on the coast. We're in the middle of the state on the Lake Wales Ridge, this ancient sand dune island. Number two, formative system. 100% on this is fire. And I think the video does a good job of showing that one. This is a fire-dependent ecosystem. And number 3, what season it is. Was it shot in? Right at the beginning of summer. And here we don't always think of the 4 regular seasons. We think of the dry season and the wet season. So this is in the beginning of our wet season. And I'll end it at that.
Thank you. I too am from Archbold Biological Station, so this is home turf for me. Okay, Laura, could we go for the last video, and then we'll have a joint session after we've done that one. This is the last poll you'll have to do, so. And if you want your words to be in the word cloud, quickly put them in on the chat. All right, thanks for the answers. And it's my pleasure to introduce Lee-Chung Chung, who's going to tell you about this video and where he's from.
Thought I'd bring some props. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lee-Chung Chung. I'm the academic program manager here at the Hatfield Marine Science Center. Thank you for joining us today on this virtual tour around the country and all our field stations. So a couple of things here to answer your questions. This was filmed in Oregon, absolutely. So a lot of folks got that right in this poll. The second one question, what are the ecosystem processes? Definitely water flow, and I could see how you would say humans as well, particularly with the fact that we've created these artificial reefs. And then in what season was this filmed? It's kind of difficult to determine, right? Underwater, but actually under the sea, we do have seasons, and those typical seasons, we do have blooms throughout the year, a spring and a fall bloom or an autumn bloom of plankton. But right here, this was actually filmed in October underwater using a GoPro camera. And so what's indicative of this kind of a good indicator of this time of the season is the the macroalgae that you're seeing growing. In the wintertime, most of that would be removed and gone. But if you see a lot of lush algae, typically that's a result of a lot of photosynthesis underwater. So Thank you. Great. Glad everyone was engaged in the polls.
Yeah. So thank you all very much. I know Dustin, thank you, Ichang. I know Dustin is busily making a word cloud. I don't know how long it's going to take him from your contributions.
I've got it.
You got it?
I'm ready. Let's see here.
Share it.
Sharing. Okay. Are you? Oh, you're seeing the whole page probably.
It's good enough. Yeah.
Let me try once more. Let me try once more.
So while Dustin is working on that, can I encourage you to sort of think about questions? Thank you for doing that, Dustin. It's kind of fun. We'll share it with everyone later. It's kind of, we'd love to, if I could ask all the hosts and the panelists to put on your videos. And then also want to shout out to all of our participants. Please post your questions either in the Q&A or in the chat. And we'd encourage you, of course, we'd love you to ask us more questions about the sites where we work. But this has been an exciting year for us in the field stations, having to employ new technologies, videos, new methods of communicating, and sort of remote learning. And we'd love you to ask questions about what were the challenges, what have we learned, how have we participated in all of this. So questions on either of those ends would be very, very welcome. I'm looking in the chat, and maybe while we're giving you a chance to put some in, I'm going to ask the hosts, and maybe I'll start with you, Angie, and move on to Beth. How does, when a student sees a video like this, what do you think it does for their powers of observation? How are they actually using this?
Yeah, I mean, I think all these videos really stimulates a lot of the senses. Particularly for the videos we shot in this early or late spring. You hear a lot of the crunching of the leaves. I saw that word in there in the chat, and you know, you just get to hear our footsteps and you know, stimulate all those curiosities of oh, I wonder what kind of leaf they're stepping on, or you know, what's that you know. I think in one of our videos, we do show scat as well. They're like, what's that? It's like deer. Oh, okay. But it gets people kind of excited. It's like this little scavenger hunt. And it's fun.
Beth, did you want to add anything to this, or anyone else like to add anything?
Sure, yeah, I definitely agree with Angie. I think the sound itself is huge. I've heard students talk about, you know, just being surprised at some of the things they're hearing in the background, and that just kind of sparks their curiosity, and also just being exposed to places they haven't seen before. So I grew up on the East Coast. I've always been around the East Coast, and I had students who were commenting from the West Coast that they didn't realize how green, you know, it was in Pennsylvania, and just how much green there was. And I just thought that was really cool, because yeah, it's something that I don't really notice anymore, but seeing that from seeing my video from a different perspective was just really interesting.
Yeah. So there was a question in the Q&A which seems to have disappeared, but
Sorry,
yeah. Okay. Maybe I could list it. So, and Yi-Chung, maybe you could address this, or Suzanne, if you'd like to answer it. What are the age groups or the grade levels that these sort of videos were designed for? How, you know, how we were working with for the virtual field project? Either of you go for that one.
Sure. Yeah. So, you know, a lot of these were developed around undergraduate students for us, really just trying to make our marine science centers, our field stations and marine labs really accessible during this past year of being closed down as a result of COVID. And part of that was really trying to create some visual accessibility and also provide some content. And we're finding this to be engaging at not only bridging that, but also in preparation for any students or groups that are coming out to these field stations and marine labs.
Suzanne, did you want to add anything to that, or?
Yes, I'd love to. And I apologize for my signal. I think I'm hoping I'm coming
You're good.
through. Okay, good. But absolutely, that was exactly the driving force behind all this. But I was surprised to see how much it could also be broadened, because over the course of last year, we also used some of these videos or portions of videos for K through 12 audiences, and also for docent training on our preserves. So, community members, retired folks, and I hope no one minds if I also talk a little bit about why I found them so useful. Because just like what Beth was saying, kind of giving you a new or a different perspective, all apologies to Ichung, but I am never probably going to dive in the ocean, but I now get to see it. And so being able to show and have people have that experience that they would never be able to have in the field themselves, really, was a great way to kind of give that experience to our younger audience, not just undergraduates, and also our community members.
So there was a question way at the top, which we've dragged down. How do we access the videos if we want to use them in a class? And is the website, which Dustin keeps posting up, the virtual field website, the one to use? And I'd like to pass it over to Dustin, but Dustin, maybe you could also talk about the process that we all went through to learn to be better videographers. So we all got training and meta tools, and for any of you who've tried to do sort of field courses, field work, using videos, Dustin, why don't you address some of the materials we got together and some of those approaches?
And I'd also say there are other talks on the virtual field this week too. So just type in virtual field in the search bar. There's like 4 or 5 different talks, some of them going into the history of how it happened. But it was, in spring 2020, we started getting together. And we realized that we all had different backgrounds in terms of the tech we knew how to use. Some people had made edited videos, some people hadn't. And so there was a big learning curve for all of us. We were able to have a contractor help us and make videos. This is how you shoot with a cell phone, all kinds of tips for creators. This is how you edit on a free software that you can use. And the idea was, let's make this accessible so that professors and staff at all these different field stations can go out and shoot with simple instructions and have these 3-minute videos. We cut them down a little bit for this today. And then also have questions that go with them. So we'll have activities. And right now we're even looking at expanding the activities that we have with them, because you could do all kinds of things with these. So it's been a big learning curve. It's been really nice to have this network. The people that you're seeing right here, we meet about every 2 weeks, and for the last year, I've been working on this together.
Yeah, so, and it is the virtual field, not virtual field. There's another website called Virtual Field, so it's the virtual field. There's a question here, which is, where was I? A question about, it's in the Q&A. Do you have accompanying materials to go with these videos? So the videos, some are narrated, some are annotated, some are just neither. So I don't know, Beth, would you like to address that, or anybody else like to chip in on the sort of teaching type of materials that are available?
Yeah, sure. So others can fill in anything I miss, but there's a lot of virtual material on the virtual field site, but the ecosystem exploration videos specifically, which are the portions that we showed today, they're paired. So they come with just a 3 to 5 minute video exploring an ecosystem. And then that same video, but with annotations that were added by their creators to give snippets of information about what you're seeing. Faculty can use either or both of those in their teaching experiences. And then they also come with questions, formulated questions for students to answer, and a little bit more, additional information with specific time stamps, so that you can, as a faculty, you can correlate what you're seeing with maybe what the creator of the video thought was important to pull out of the videos. So I hope that, I don't know, others can chime in on things that I've missed, but that's kind of the crux of it.
Andy, would you like to chime in? And I think also, Angie, I know you've got a big interest in K through 12 and other educational outlets. So maybe you could share with us how same materials can be used for a variety of educational target audiences.
Absolutely, yeah. I just pasted a link to the virtual field organized oral session that we'll be giving on Thursday. Yeah, these products are really fantastic, just for the basic sense of getting students interested in making those basic observations. And you can really go deeper if you want to dive into the ecological processes that you see within the videos. And those follow the framework of ESA's 4D framework. So you can get more information on the website about that. And there's, also should mention there's the other half of the educational products, which is the Live from the Field events, which you should also consider, that actually brings students to 3 different field stations to talk about the research that's going on and explore the careers of researchers at the field station itself. But yeah, for K through 12, I think we'll be kind of developing our products a little bit more for that demographic, especially in the sense of maybe creating field journals or nature journals to get students a little bit more involved and more engaged in writing down what they're seeing and drawing things of what they're seeing, simple things like that. But the ecosystem videos, exploration videos, are very fluid. You could use it for, in different ways, and we made it that way. It's silent videos. So, you can kind of really go into deep as much as you want to the ecology, or keep it very simple and just talk about what you're seeing, the soundscapes, as somebody had mentioned in the chat, and things like that.
Yeah. So I thought it might be worth asking us each to spend a minute or two, as we're getting to the sort of the end of this time slot, just what it's like for an ecologist to visit your field station, and what are some of the opportunities, just shameless promotion. I mean, this is for those of you out in the audience, we know you're ecologists and we know you're interested in the field. So we want to tell you about our field stations and how welcome you are, and who typically comes and visits. I don't know who wants to go first. Andrea, would you like to go first?
Sure, I'm happy to. So we are really excited to collaborate with other researchers here at Powder Mill. We have a lot of long-term projects going on. One of our more exciting ones that I like to talk about, a tornado actually came through in 2012 and blew down large sections of the forest, and we turned that into a long-term research project on forest succession and what happens following disturbance. So we've had many researchers coming in to study, how the forest comes back, and some of it was logged, some of it was left as is. We fenced some of it in to prevent deer browsing, to see that impact on forest succession. So that's one of the really interesting long-term data sets that we have going on. We also have mammalogy, ornithology, botany, entomology, overnight accommodations. We have a DNA lab, so we're pretty well equipped and welcome anyone who wants to come.
Thanks. Suzanne.
Yes, absolutely. Please come visit beautiful Sonoma County, California, where it's interesting because, of course, a lot of you, no matter where you are in the country, have probably heard about the fact that we've had a lot of fires in this area. But the Osborne Preserve is in an interesting site, because although this is an area where fire is actually a formative process, as many of you mentioned in the poll, Right now, our site has not burned for about 150 years. So actually, if anyone wanted to come study a site that has not burned in comparison with any of the ones around us where there've been quite a lot of fires, then we actually have some folks who are interested in doing that. Also looking at right now an area where although there has been cattle grazing in the past, there isn't currently, again, doing a comparison because there are sites that surround us on the same mountain with grazing. And of course, anything with oak woodlands and the native perennial grasslands, which if you're familiar with California, know that those are, well, I think they're wonderful and special and fairly rare in the United States. And of course, very, very productive. Yeah, sorry. Oh no, I could go on forever.
You could go on for days. I can see this. So who would like to go next? Angie, do you want to? We're running a little bit out of time, so maybe one.
I'll be very quick. Yes, again, if you're ever in the New York area, in the Hudson Highlands region, we're about an hour and a half north of New York City. Our trails, we have many, many miles of trails. So there's public access to our 4,000 acres. And we border some other state land and preserves as well. But yeah, plenty of research going on. We welcome collaboration. If you want to do comparative studies, New York to the West Coast, we welcome it. And we have long-term data sets from the 1930s onward to really help enrich your research knowledge and education as well. So
thanks. Beth.
Sure. So after you're done visiting Angie, you can come down to the Poconos where we'd love to see you. So Lackawanna is a small station. We have about 550 acres in the Pocono Mountains. And the big draw for most researchers is our glacial lake. So our glacial lake is the southernmost pristine glacial lake. So its watershed is entirely within the sanctuary, and it's been protected from development, which if you've ever been to the Poconos, you realize is quite unusual. Much of the research is focused on understanding how lakes have been changing over time. So we have high frequency data collection, looking at lots of aspects of the lake that date back several decades. Would also put you up in a early 19th century Adirondack lodge with fireplace with the double staircases that are bigger than most apartments I've lived in. So it's some pretty nice digs if you make it over. So we'd love to see you.
Thank you. And Ichung?
Yeah, and I'm over here on the West Coast in Oregon, in Newport, Oregon, at the Hatfield Marine Science Center. And we've got not only all of the things that are associated with marine science at Oregon State University, but we also have quite a number of federal and state government agencies co-located on our campus, a 50-acre campus. And we also have an estuary flat that we also manage for research and education. I invite everyone to not only come out to the Marine Science Center and see our new Marine Studies building, which supposedly is able to withstand a 9.0 earthquake and be the first vertical evacuation route in the event of a tsunami on the West Coast here. But I would encourage you to check out all of our field stations and marine labs. This is a project that was really a culmination of the Organization of Biological Field Stations and the National Association of Marine Labs. So please reach out and check out your local regional field stations.
Yeah, thank you, Ichung. And maybe I could just wrap up quickly, Dustin. Archbold's in Central Florida. We manage 20,000 acres. That includes ancient Florida scrub ecosystem full of endemics and very rare species, fire dominated, and also a full-scale working cattle ranch, which is one of the top 20 ranches in Florida and in top 400 in the country. So if you want to understand agroecology, we have lots of accommodations. We can sleep sort of, depending on how crowded you are, about 80 people, very nice research facilities and resident staff. And Dustin is our full-time education coordinator. So like everybody else, you'd be very welcome. I'd encourage you, like Ichung said, to visit obfs.org. There's a really good connection there. there to all of the field stations. And I just like to personally thank those of you who hung in throughout this. I'm sorry we had a bit of a slow start, and we'd be very welcome if any of you would like to follow up with us or find out more information, or learn more about the virtual field. We're here to help. So this is a virtual field trip with continuing service afterwards. So please take advantage of us and learn more about how one can add remote virtual components into field work. So thanks for attending, everybody. I think we are ready to drop off, but my personal thanks to Dustin and to Angie and Beth and Andrea and Suzanne and Yi-Chung, and also to Laura, who is my assistant, who manages to do these things in the background extraordinarily well. So thank you everyone for coming, and thanks to all of our participating panelists. Okay, grab that word, that Wordle, Dustin. Well done. Deciduous. I think. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye. Bye. Good.